Um, Excited to have you guys all here today for our Application Assistance Virtual Bidders Conference for the small business investment grant opportunity that we have that just launched on June 10th. This is our first application assistance webinar. We'll be having another one on July 1st. So this will be an opportunity to kind of go through a bit of information about the grant, how to apply if you hadn't already, get an opportunity to ask some questions, um, and yeah, just kind of get to know each other a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. And what I'll have us do too is we will have time for questions. So if everyone can just make sure they're on mute for now, just to make sure there's no background noise, that would be awesome. And yeah, as we dive in here, so I'll provide a little bit of background about Commerce's Community Reinvestment Project, or CRP. I think context can be good for some of these things when we're talking about funding. Kind of how this occurred, the different funding that's out there, and then specifically like the funding that this grant relates to. So just a little bit of context, but I'll provide the link to the Commerce website so that if you guys want to do a deeper dive into that information, you are welcome to. You may already be familiar. And then we'll do an overview of the requirements, scope, timeline, for the application process for the small business investment grant. And then I'll provide a little bit of guidance on how to seek support in the application process, who you can reach out to, which is going to be me, and then where you can find that updated information around like the different questions that folks are asking, or if you need additional support. A little bit of housekeeping. When we're not asking questions, try to remain muted just for background noise. And then any questions that you have, even if you ask them off mute, if you can put them in the chat, that's incredibly helpful, since we'll be able to add these to our FAQ page on the website, the frequently asked questions. So that way we can kind of have all this information housed there. And we are recording this presentation, so it will be posted for reference as well on the site, just as another resource for folks. This is our webpage where you can find all the information about the grant, including the link to the application. My guess is that most of you have probably found this site already, and this is how you found this webinar and got here today. But if not, this is the URL for the website page. Helps if I go back to the right screen. So a little bit of context. I'm assuming, well, I don't want to assume, a lot of folks are probably familiar with the Community Reinvestment Project. So it is a community design plan to uplift communities disproportionately harmed by the historical design and enforcement of the criminal laws and penalties for drug possession, so also known as the War on Drugs. This is the link to the Commerce site that provides a wealth of information about the project, about the different funding areas, funding projects that are out by and for organizations. So this is a great resource to get. I'm just going to do a broad overview, but this is a great resource to get additional information, dive as deep as you would like to. So in 2022, the Washington legislature created the Community Reinvestment Account, which set aside $200 million to address the racial, economic, and social disparities created by the historic design and enforcement of state and federal criminal laws and penalties for drug possession. So the legislature directed the Department of Commerce to invest these funds into 4 program areas. So there's economic development, civil and criminal legal assistance, community-based violence intervention and prevention, and reentry services. So there's been a lot of talk about these funds, the CRF, or Community Reinvestment Project, and they're being distributed into these 4 program areas through a lot of different partners and through different grants. So just to give a bit of context on how this was kind of focused and went out. with the funding distributed through Commerce, the Community Reinvestment Project is going to support about 17 different grant programs. And each of the programs are distributing funds in accordance with the Community Reinvestment Plan. So lots of different partners, interagency partners. The funding that this is more focused in is through that Employment Security Department, which was 25 million to provide workforce and small business service. So as we get into like the specifics of the grant, you'll see that connection to small business support and workforce development. And this comes from how the funding, sorry, I'm going to let someone else in, came from how the funding was focused and then distributed. And there is these, the Community Reinvestment Project. This funding prioritizes Black, Latine, and tribal communities in an effort to undo some harm and build a better Washington state for everyone. So you'll see that in all of the documents that this funding is prioritized for those communities. So where the Small Business Investment Grant, that's coming from the Economic Security for All, or EXA, business support program under that ESD funding. So this is really meant to support Black, Latine, and tribal small businesses, and supports with things like workforce development, skill enhancement, organizational growth, and economic mobility. So just a bit of context on the funding, kind of where it was focused, and then how it got distributed out. And you'll see that focus kind of tied in throughout the grant and the future offerings that we'll have. So that tied is supporting these Black, Latine, tribal small businesses with a focus on workforce development, skill enhancement, resiliency, organizational growth. Before I go any further, any questions or just anyone on the call who wanted to share anything about, I'll go back one, about the CRP, any additional information, anything that was confusing or things that folks have found helpful? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, I don't think, let's see, I'm not hearing you. Let me check my sound.
I didn't hear anything either, so it might be a muting problem maybe, or
It is, yeah, I think it's, Gino, I don't see that you're muted, but I don't see the sound coming through. Okay, and while you're working on your sound, Carla, I saw that you had your hand up.
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm with Baker Consulting. You asked the question whether or not there's anything confusing or things that have been helpful. And from our perspective, we are a for-profit organization that is a by and for approved organization. And most of the time, the grants that are coming up don't distinguish between the two. They don't say whether or not if you're a for-profit organization that you can apply for the grant. Then we have to go hunt and search and try to figure out whether we can. So I think it would be really helpful if you could make that distinction within the grant descriptions like this, whether or not if you're a for-profit that you can apply for it. And then I'll save my other questions for after you've finished your presentations.
Awesome. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I see, looks like Essence.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
I actually wasn't able to type anything in the chat to introduce myself, so I don't know if that's on my end or your end.
Oh, interesting. The chat should be open. Let me check a quick setting here, though. Yeah, it looks like chat is enabled for everyone. So if you want to try and give it another shot, and then if not, of course, when we have questions, you're welcome to take yourself off mute. And I'm sorry the chat's not working for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Like Dr. Martin, I see a hand up.
Yes, thank you. The question is, this is for small business. Do you consider small nonprofits businesses as well, or are you looking, is this grant primarily for-profit businesses?
Great question. This grant is open to nonprofit and small business. It's just that under the small business category of fewer than 50 employees, but both for-profit and nonprofit are encouraged to apply and eligible. Great question.
Okay, thank you.
So we fit the criteria there. That's fine. Great.
Okay. Any other questions before we get into the grant specifics? I know it's a bit of like extra context. There's been a lot of information out about this funding, and it's going to different focus areas, a lot of different amazing projects happening. And we've had some questions come up in conversations with community about just at least specific to like the business supports that we're putting out around like where it's focused and how it's focused and why and what the funding parameters are. So just a little bit of context, and again, that Department of Commerce website is a wealth of information about the full project and the different amazing opportunities that are coming out. Also a lot of the buy-in for organizations that are involved in helping execute some of these grants. So looks like Hayward.
Yeah. Hi, Ariana. Getting back to Carla's question, do we have to be focused or partnership with a buy-in for organization? We're a profit entity as well.
Yes. So for this offering that we're doing, this grant, you don't have to be a buy-in for. You don't have to be a registered buy-in for, and you can be a for-profit or a nonprofit.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other questions before we dive into the specifics? Carla, I see ya.
I don't know. I was thinking, well, maybe maybe I'll go ahead and ask this question, and you can just share whether you're going to cover the reporting process for the grant for those that are awarded the money. Or if you're going to cover that, then we can wait. But if you're not going to cover that, I'd like to ask that question, and you can save it for later if you want. What will be the reporting process for those organizations that are awarded the funds?
Yeah, great question. And actually, I can answer it now. So, in terms of reporting, so in the application, there's a budget template that you do, right, along with a narrative. So, that one that you do ahead of time, there will also be a post budget, so like a completed at the end. So that will be a requirement. We're also asking that folks submit kind of like an impact or just some sort of story around like the impact of the funds, how it was used, the impact of that, and not novels or anything, but just really like an impact story. There may be some like survey requests and stuff, so not a heavy lift in terms of reporting. On the back end, in terms of depending on how the funding is used, there might be a few additional requirements, like if it's like equipment purchases or stuff. Like we're working with our fiscal team to figure out like exactly what we'll need, but not like a huge heavy lift by any means. And there'll be support for that as well. Does that
Right,
answer
thank
your
you.
question? Okay.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, there's going to be some specifics depending on how folks who are awarded use the funds. So it's one of those where like answering the question without a full answer. But yes, we will have more and more specifics on that, and we'll work with folks to make sure that the appropriate reporting is done.
Great. I have a question if you're still allowing. Just want to know, is this reimbursable or unrestricted?
So this is a grant. So it won't be like a where you purchase ahead of time. Like these funds will be used for whatever's being requested in the grant. Oh, I've got one more person. Okay. So, There we go. Okay, I think I got him in. So I'll go ahead and move. Oh, do we have another question?
I just had one quick question. Will you
Sure.
guys have a review process for if you've already submitted your application, or once your application is submitted, if you submitted it before the deadline, will you review any before that, or will they all have to wait until after the deadline for review?
They will all get reviewed, and that will come up later in here. But yes, they'll all get reviewed and evaluated after the deadline. The only kind of like exception to that is if you've like started an application and it's not completed or you're missing something, we will be reaching out just to be like, hey, application's missing something, or it's not completed, to make sure that folks who started that process and want to complete that process can before that deadline, but they won't get evaluated until it closes. Great question.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, just for clarification on the last question that was asked about restricted versus reimbursement. I wasn't quite clear on your answer to that, because if it's reimbursement, then we would pay and then submit an invoice and you reimburse. But it sounds like you're saying you would just pay it for those organizations that are approved. If they ask for 10,000, you just give them 10,000 and they go use the funds.
So those are some of we have some questions out, so we'll be clarifying more of that process. The general answer I can give, that it won't be where you're required to use your own funds to make the purchase and then get reimbursed. We'll either be working with you likely to make that purchase or get the funds to you so that purchase can be made, or that investment can be made. And then there will be some reporting through the budget and the narrative about the use of the funds, right? That whatever you said you were going to use them for, that's how they got used. Does that, these are always hard. It's the answer, non-answer, but did that answer it?
It does for me. I'm probably for the person who asked it as well, but thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so I'll go ahead and move forward, and we'll get into more of the specifics now. So I'll go ahead and move forward for now. So what we're here to talk about, the Small Business Investment Grant. So this is, right, just a snip from the webpage where all this information is housed. This is the grant timeline, and everything we're going to talk about is also on the webpage. So this opportunity was released on June 10th. We're having our first application assistance or virtual bidders conference June 18th. Which is today. We're all here and present for this. We will have another one of these on July 1st. And then our last day, or the last day to submit and any questions about the opportunity will be July 7th. Applications are due Sunday, July 14th by 11:59 p.m. So you get the full day. And then we're anticipating award notifications on or before August 23rd, with all applicants being notified on or before September 13th. So this grant, folks can apply for financial support of up to $15,000 for for their like identify need, and we'll get into kind of like the scope of like what can be requested, but you can request up to $15,000. And again, it's to eligible small businesses and nonprofits. So these are small, so fewer than 50 employees, licensed in King County. In addition to the financial support, there's also going to be an opportunity for either some coaching, consulting, or resource connections. And our intention behind that is, what we've heard from small businesses is that money is not always enough. That implementation support, or knowing how to get connected to the right kind of resources, or some of that kind of like coaching work around like how to implement funds and make sure that the implementation of those funds leads to some sustainable impact for the organization. So there will be some additional support in line with the funding. I think, yeah, that's pretty much all for this slide. So trying to take a little bit more holistic approach, so it's not just the money, but some of that, deeper connection and resource connections as well. For the eligibility, and we talked a bit about this, right? So open to small businesses and nonprofits located in King County. Priority is given to organizations that are at least 51% owned and operated by individuals from Black, urban Indian or tribal communities and Latine communities. Oops, I'm gonna let someone else in. These are priority is given for these communities, but folks outside of these communities are also able and welcome to apply. Grant funds need to be used for activities or purchases related to either capacity building and growth, sustainability, hiring, retention, or staff training. Kind of broad, right? Bigger focus areas, but we know the needs of small businesses are broad. So the activities or purchases will need to be tied to one of those focus areas. And then the fund should, there should be a connection drawn, or they should directly contribute to the development and enhancement of the organization's operations and impact, and support their ability to hire staff, train, retain employees, and or increase their workers' earnings opportunities and job qualities, or job quality. And this is why I wanted to give a little bit of context around the funding, right? This funding is kind of housed in this workforce development space. So in the application, and there's very clear questions in the application, but making that tie back to the focus area, as well as how these funds will support the organization's ability to either hire staff, train and retain their employees, or increase their employees' opportunities and job quality. And that could even be something like let's say you're, let's say that you are requesting some funding for an equipment purchase for your business. It's very possible that you purchasing that equipment will allow you to increase your operations and be able to hire more folks as a result of that. So it's just that tie back to the focus area, and then either those supports for your employees or those workforce development kind of areas. Grant funds cannot be used for working capital, land and building acquisitions, or relieving existing debt. Oops. The application, again, everything is housed on this webpage, but it's an online application through a form. It's not super long. Tried to keep it pretty brief. There are some optional questions on the application. They don't count towards your scoring at all, but it's just an opportunity for us to learn more about the needs of our businesses and communities in King County. So if you do the application and you're able to provide that, that's incredibly helpful and we appreciate it. But again, it's not required and it doesn't count against you. If you don't, it's not included in the scoring guide. With the application, there are some required attachments, which would be your valid business license, a W-9, and then that completed budget template. And that budget template, again, is available on the website in a download. I've had one person who had some issues downloading the templates, an Excel file. If folks have issues, you are welcome to email me directly, and my email is on that website so that I can either send you a copy or provide some assistance with that. The application scoring. So the scoring guide, again, also available on the website. So full transparency, this is the scoring guide that our evaluation committee is going to use to score the applications. It's scored in all these different areas. They'll provide their scoring. But again, if you'd like to review this, it is listed on the website so that that criteria is there and available for you. Any updates, documents, information, I feel like I've said this a million times already, but everything is going to be hosted on that website page. So it's kind of like your one-stop shop, application link, any documents that you might need, the frequently asked questions, the scoring guide, everything is housed there. A copy of this recorded webinar will be there. So it's pretty much your go-to spot for any logistical information or support that you might need. And then this is just kind of, you can see kind of a screenshot there, like the timeline is listed there again. And then there's links to all of the documents, and our frequently asked questions are also available as like as a drop down within the website page as well. So someone had asked about evaluation process. So this is our process. So once the deadline has passed, all applications are going to be vetted for eligibility, right? So small business or nonprofit, licensed in King County, and that they're complete. And again, if folks have started an application or if it's missing information, I will be reaching out to say, hey, your application's not done. We're missing this piece. So that way you get that opportunity to get those documents in before the deadline. But once the deadline is passed, we'll screen to make sure the applications meet eligibility and that they're complete. And then those will be considered by the evaluation committee. The evaluation committee will rate the applications using that scoring guide. And then the evaluators will include members of local community organizations that serve Black, Latino, and tribal communities. Once the evaluation committee has, gone through all of the applications, they'll put forward their recommended awards to the WDC board for final approval. So our board, the Workforce Development Council of Seattle-King County. And then once approved, applicants will be notified of the board's decisions. There is an appeals process. So once folks have received that decision, if they want to appeal it, that can be done, needs to be done in writing within 7 calendar days from the date of the notice of your award decision. And then there will be additional supports and resources. So all applicants, whether they're awarded or non-awarded, they will be notified about future opportunities, right? This is just our first offering that our team has put together out of this funding. So as we release more offerings and supports, everyone will be, all applicants who applied will be notified of that. And anyone who's applied, they're also going to get connected to WorkSource services. If they're interested in any of them, or if they may be helpful to them. So we'll do that connection so that you can get, connected to those WorkSource services that are available to you. Okay, yep. So again, right, website, our one-stop shop with all the information. And then I'll open it up for some more questions. And if we don't have questions, that's okay. And also feel free to put your questions in the chat. Again, super helpful for us because then we can just make sure that those are uploaded into the fact section so that those are available to other folks who may have similar questions to the ones that you had. I see you, Carla. Go for it.
Okay, thank you. I had to come off mute there.
You're
So,
good.
so I saw there, let me get here to where I was copying this from. It shows that eligibility is for, in addition to Black, urban Indian, tribal, and Latino communities, you've added refugees or immigrants from other racially and ethnically marginalized communities.
Mhm.
Are those communities also part of the major description in the CRP, that big 12 or 22 or 30 page document, however big that document is, where it lists who's eligible? Are those groups also included in that big description?
I would have to look back through. With this funding, though, it is right. Black, Latino, and tribal communities are prioritized, but it is open to other groups. But knowing the intentions of the CRP and really like what this is aiming to do, we are making a commitment to prioritize Black, Latino, and tribal communities. folks from other communities are welcome to apply, but that prioritization is going to remain the same. And I'm not sure. I'd have to look back through the CRP document to see who else is listed in there. Great
Okay.
question, though.
Ariana, can I just add? Hi, everybody. This is
Yep.
Tessa. I work with Ariana at the WDC. You did also reflect that in your scoring guide. And so the Black tribal community and Latin communities score the highest. And then as part of the WDC's commitment to racial equity and recognizing that other groups are welcome to apply, groups that are 51% or more owned by underserved populations receive points too, but a lower amount of points. So we did try to reflect that, you know, the legislation's focus on those top 3 populations in the scoring itself as well.
Yeah, and that's all good. So, but my basic question is, are those groups also included in the larger guide that identifies what the rules are overall? And if was it changed for this specific grant? And is it okay can you make changes to this if the requirements don't list that in the bigger document? That's all I was trying to ask, but I can go back and look and find the answer myself. I can do the research myself and find it. So I was just curious.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. And one that, yeah, great question. And one that we will follow up on as well. But of course, if you find anything and want to send it over to me, I would deeply appreciate that.
Thank you. Well, it looks like there's a little time here. Could you possibly go through the actual application questions? Take a just closer look at the actual questions since everyone's here and we kind of got another 25 minutes to go and not very many questions.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. Are there any other questions before I pull that up?
I have a quick question, and I'm sorry, forgive me if you've mentioned this or it's in the actual application, but how many awards do you plan on awarding?
We don't have a set limit. We're anticipating 30 to 40 is the goal. And again, this is our first offering through this funding. We're going to be offering different opportunities that come through. A lot of them are still being finalized right now, but for this first round of grants, our goal is to award 30 to 40.
Thank you.
Great question.
Hi, I have a question. I put it in the chat, but you mentioned that the applicants can get additional support like technical assistance. Is this something that we just reach out to like an 800 number, or who do we contact for that?
Me. This is me. Yep. So if you just want to reach out to me and let me know like what kind of specific support you need in completing the application, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Ariana, there are a few coming in the chat.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that for technical assistance. How much total funds is available for the award? So it's you can request up to $15,000 for this grant award. And then Carla, I see if you have several statements of work that exceed 15,000, but all fall under the realm of the granting requirements, can you apply more than once? We actually did not have a stipulation on if folks could apply more than once. So that's something that our team can circle back with. I think, Tessa, I don't know if you have any input for this one.
No, I think we should probably just circle back and make sure we're doing what's following all the rules and stuff. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have seen with some of the other workforce development boards or folks putting out similar like grant offerings that some of them have allowed folks to apply more than once, just depending on funding availability, knowing that it's right, like if there was going to be additional funding, then that would get it that you could apply more than once. but knowing that, right, like that second request would probably be like if there was additional funding.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, no, another great question. So yeah, we'll circle back on that one as well. Thank you, Carla. Ron, I mean, from the Department of Commerce, what was the total package? Great question.
So I guess I was just asking, like, what is the total amount actually that you guys have from the Department of Commerce? How many millions to actually give out in total? Just kind of get an understanding how many rounds of distributions there will be. And 30 times 15 is what, 450,000. So, you know, what was kind of the total that you guys will have available to give out?
Yeah. Might tap Mike for this one. I believe for this, and we're not just, it won't be just micro grants. We are, I mean, this is the first offering under this. We may do another round of micro grants. We'll be putting out different supports. And then, you know, within this kind of like, you know, scope of work as well, there's the opportunity to assist with things like internships and training for employees outside of this grant opportunity. Mike,
Cool.
did you have that total amount? I don't know if he's on, but
Yeah, I'm on. Hey, great question,
Hi.
Ron. Yeah, so we've got the WDC from Employment Security Department, which is, you know, our grantor, which is partnered with Department of Commerce. We have about $7 million locally, and that's divided into two different categories. The Career Accelerator Program, which is largely like incentives, you know, $1,000 incentives that are paid out monthly for the, you know, the life of the grant, which goes through June 2025. And that's for individual job seekers that are, you know, needing support around, you know, just general career planning and ways that these financial supports can help, you know, work through those, you know, financial hurdles. The second, and that's, we have about $5 million in that incentives bucket. We've got 2 million in the business services side of things. So, you know, obviously this grant opportunity is one of many, you know, activities that we're going to be supporting in business supports. But yeah, the total's at about, you know, about 500K here, but this is, you know, one, and we might have a second round of a similar offering like this down the road too. So still developing and shaping some of that. Thanks. So.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing.
Can I say something else, and then I probably won't say anything else for the rest of the meeting.
You're good.
And that
You're
might not be
good.
true either, but you know, quote unquote business supports. And the way that I view this is it's an opportunity to help us sustain our business. And there are not a lot of grants out there like that that allow us that opportunity. And even if it is a smaller amount, 15,000 is really going to be helpful if approved. And so, and really, I do want to say really grateful for the opportunity to at least try for the money, because it would be really helpful. But did want to thank you guys for looking at it from that perspective and giving us the opportunity to not have to go out to create a whole new statement of work to support money that's coming in. You know, this is saying, you know, where meet you where you are, and here's some little extra money if you can, you know, if you fall within that the realm of the RFP, that will help you sustain your business. So I'm really grateful for that opportunity, and I wanted to make sure I stated that. So that'll be really helpful for those that are approved.
Awesome. Thank you, Carla. And I think that's great feedback for us too, right? As we're trying to like, you know, chat with businesses, figure out what's most helpful, best way to leverage these funds. And because we can be less restrictive with the micro grant, right? And to your point, kind of like meet folks where they're at. That's really helpful feedback for us too, in terms of like, you know, prioritizing, and to Mike's point, you know, hopefully doing another round of these as well. So thank you. Hayward, I see your hand.
Yes, we've completed our draft of our grant application. Is it possible to have somebody review it prior to submitting?
Review it in the sense of like if it's complete or not?
Yes, just to look at it, see if we're on the right track and we're following all the rules. That we fall within all the parameters, that we've covered everything.
Yep. So we can, I'll be doing a review of applications to make sure that they are complete, right? That all the requested information is there and present. In terms of, you know, like and utilizing, right, like the questions, I feel like, and I'm always open to feedback on this, are hopefully like pretty clear, pretty transparent. And then in addition with the scoring guide, hopefully it's, easy and clear to kind of see what's being evaluated. If you're looking for assistance in terms of like, I want to make sure this is worded the right way and really competitive, if you could send me an email, because then I can get you connected with some folks who could offer more of that like competitive grant kind of support, outside of just making sure that it's complete and you've, supplied the requested information. So yeah, if that's a resource that you need, let me know and I will get you connected with some available resources for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where was your email address? Is it in the application?
It is. Yeah. So it's in the
Okay.
application and it's on the site. It's really just my email out there. So and Carly, I think you have my email as well. So yep, I'm here for all the questions. If I don't have the
Thornton.
answer, I will
Right.
get it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I did have another question. So so we're like Hayward, we've completed our application, and I just wanted to wait until this conference to make sure I didn't miss anything. But my template is real simple. It doesn't have a whole lot of information on there, and I don't know how detailed we need to get with that, other than there's just really like 2 areas that we're trying to cover under there, and I don't know if I need to go into detail with that. So maybe we can share that with you and you tell us, no, we want a little bit more, or you don't have to. Yeah. Okay.
No,
All right.
no, I think that's fine. And that budget template too is another one where it looks like it's in good shape, but we did ask for some additional support, like from our fiscal team, just from like a reporting perspective. So if there are additional clarification, right, that's needed, or like more detail, then that's something that we can circle back with folks on. But it is pretty simple, right? It's meant to be simple. These funds are meant to be out in the community serving these businesses, and so we wanted to make the application as just as accessible as possible, like not making it hard if it doesn't need to be hard. But I am circling back with our fiscal team. So if it feels like we need additional clarification in the budgets or a bit more information, then I can get that out to folks. Like, Hayward, did you have another question? And you may not. I just think your hand. I think your hand stays up.
No, I thought my hand was down. I didn't take it down. Is it up? Down.
It was down. It's down. Oh, now it's up.
Oh.
Yeah. It's perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I'll stop sharing for a second and see if I can get the actual application pulled up really quick. And something that folks can do, right? Like we've been pretty intentional in our outreach for this grant to make sure it is getting out to the priority communities. But on the actually we can see it here on our our housing page here that has all the good stuff and all the resources. There's also a link to the informational flyer. So definitely it's always kind of a catch-22, right? You don't necessarily want more competition for the funding that you're applying for, but if you know businesses that could benefit from this, or folks within like your small business network, and I know some folks here aren't maybe necessarily applying, but they're working to help get this information out to folks. Definitely, share it if you can. It's a great way to kind of get it out there. And again, we'll be updating folks like as we release additional supports. Carla, I see you.
Yeah, can faith-based organizations apply?
Let me circle back. I didn't see any stipulations, and Mike, maybe you can speak to this. I didn't see any stipulations. And my guess is that they're likely going to be filed as under a nonprofit. Most faith-based organizations are, so they would fall under that nonprofit status then. Mike, have you heard anything different?
That's how I would interpret it. If we can definitely look into that, and if something if there's guidance from Commerce or ESD, we can build that into the Q&A process too, so we can circle back with the answer on that. But I would see it as they would fall under a 501c3.
And you want to force. Thank you.
Yeah. Mike's a resource guy. He's a wealth of information. So I was just like to double check my thinking with him. And then Janice, did you have a question?
Only way that you can be irreplaceable. Number 2, don't hide your intellect. If I'm
maybe not. Okay. All right. So can everyone see the grant application?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, great. So yeah, so we'll just go through it. So and actually, if I can answer, I've gotten a couple of questions. So contact name. So just the person who's going to be your point, the person who's filling us out is going to be, or is going to be like your point person for this, the one who's you want to receive the communication. So you'll do contact name, email, good phone number, your business name, website or social media pages, brief description about your business. So industry, what kind of services you provide. You don't have to get into like that was a question that came up. You don't have to get into like business codes or anything, like any of like the NAICS or SIC codes. You don't have to, just brief description is perfect. When your business was founded, how many employees you have, if you have any, type of organization, if your business has a physical location or storefront, the city that your business is licensed in, and again, right, needs to be in King County. And then kind of indicating what community you identify with. You can select more than one, of course, with our priority populations here. Oh, I need to update that. And then so grant request, so you can select more than one, but kind of what like the need that you have identified, what focus area you think it falls most closely under. If it's more than one, that's fine. The amount that you want to request. Statement of need, so just describing what you need the grant funds for, how you're going to use them, and how they fit into the focus area. And again, doesn't have to be a novel or anything, but just kind of clearly drawing that connection. Give me one second here. Sorry, I hate muting people because it feels like a weird power thing, but I just want to limit our background noise a little bit. Statement of impact. So describing how the funds will support the growth and stability of your business and your plans for how the improvements made with the funds will be supported long term. So just some of your thought process around like, okay, we're going to use grants for this, and this is how we plan to kind of make it a sustainable investment, basically. And again, folks who get awarded will also get connected with some sort of like coaching, consulting, or resource connection to kind of help make sure that strategy they have for long-term impact is supported and that you're resourced to do that. Statement of workforce benefit. So this is again kind of tying back to right, like the statement of work or the funding parameters. So describing how the funds will support the ability to hire staff, train or retain existing employees, and or offer increased earnings opportunities or job quality. And again, right, even something like an equipment purchase, you could tie that back to how it will help maybe your organization streamline things, increase your capacity, and that will allow you to maybe hire more folks, maybe increase wages, whatever that workforce development impact is going to be for your business from the utilization of these funds. And then statement of community benefit. So describing if the use of these funds will have a positive impact on your local community, and or if your business engaged or collaborated with the local community in deciding where funds should be focused. And then these are the questions I mentioned that are optional, not counted on your scoring at all. But they are helpful for us. One, because we're looking to, really inform and make sure that the products and offerings that we're putting together are in line with what folks are looking for and need. And outside of this grant too, just in general, the work that the WDC is doing, and as we continue to offer, different services and programs. And then also a little bit of, kind of helping us be more tuned in and connected as well. So if you're aware of other resources or organizations that are incredibly helpful, that's great information for us to have too, so we can help resource other businesses. Any areas that your business would benefit from in terms of workforce support. So things like paid internships, on-the-job training, reimbursable training grants, job listing, hiring events. A lot of these are existing workforce services and things that we're also looking to do with some of this funding. So again, just kind of helps us, as we're thinking through these offerings and then getting folks connected to the workforce system. How does your business support employee well-being? How does your business support racial equity? What can government supports and programs like this one do to be more accessible, responsive, and or improve? And you really can be honest here. It really won't count against you, and we do want the feedback. And then how did you hear about this grant opportunity? Again, that just kind of helps us see like how we're getting the information out, or who's helping us get the information out, so that we can continue to do that. And then there's a section to upload your application files here. So business license, W-9, budget templates, and then other, if you feel like there's another supportive material that you would like to have considered in your application, you can upload it here. And then these are just the certifications, right? That your information's true to the best of your knowledge, that you are authorized to submit this application on behalf of the business. And then this, Carla, this kind of speaks to your question about a little bit to the reporting piece of it. So just that an acknowledgement that you'll also receive support in the form of coaching, consulting, and or resource connections in addition to the grant amount, right, if you're awarded. And then understanding that you'll be asked to share data regarding the impact of these funds that will be collected in the form of surveys, interviews, and or success stories, or those impact stories that we talked about.
Sure.
And just that you're willing to provide that.
Sure. Thanks.
Yep, and then you'll sign date. This should populate, but it doesn't. Oh, if you hover over it, it does. But title, first name, last name, sign date, and then you submit. And again, all that information is housed here. So pretty much everything we went over today, links to all the documents, the timeline. My email is right here, and we'll be updating the frequently asked questions through this document and through these drop downs that you see listed here. And then, of course, the application assistance call, which we're on today, and then we'll have another one on Monday, July 1st. I see a question. Go ahead, Dr. Martin.
Sorry, I was muted. Can you scroll
You're good.
down a little bit on the page you're showing right now to the timeline?
Oh, yep.
Can you explain the difference between anticipated award notice and all applicants notified of status? What are those?
Yes. So this is for like anyone who's been awarded the funds. Anticipated award notification to those folks is on or before August 23rd, with making sure that all applicants have been notified. So like, right, if folks weren't awarded on or before September 13th. And a part of that timeline too is that folks who aren't awarded, we also want to make sure we have that time to do a connection point to, of course, right, like let folks know about additional opportunities and provide that connection to other resources and work source services, so that even if you weren't able to get support through this particular grant, you're aware of other opportunities and still getting connected to resources that might be able to help you right now.
That's good.
Did that answer your question?
It did. Thank you. And then one more question. So
yeah.
Applicants who are awarded will be notified on August 23rd. When will the funds actually be available?
Such a great question, and I will get back to you on that. So that is something that we're working on the fiscal side of things. I think some of that will depend on the nature of the request and what they're going to be used for. Some things might be a little bit more involved in terms of like it, right? Like the type of purchase. I'm hoping to have more information on that soon before it closes, but we will get back to folks about what that process will look like. But we're hoping it's not too long of a lag in between from when you're notified to when you can actually utilize the funds.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you.
Of course.
Hey Tessa, I just had a question. Not Tessa. I'm sorry, Ariana. Sorry. So I had
That's
a
fine.
quick
You can ask
question.
Tessa. You can ask Tessa.
Sorry, just calling out our whole industry team. So quick question. So the next info session, is it encouraged? I mean, is it just kind of the same information at that one, or should everybody that attended this encouraged to come back, or is it kind of the same information? And if they have questions down the line, in terms of when you're going to do this again?
Awesome. Great question, Abby. So yes, it will be very much of the same. So I wouldn't think that like if you want to come to the next one and spend some more time with us, please do. Especially I've loved all like the thoughtful and insightful questions today. Or if you even want to come to be like a resource to folks or connect, absolutely. But it will be very much of the same information. So there's no I won't say there's like a huge benefit to attending the next one. We just wanted to make sure we offered more than one opportunity for folks to come and get some support and ask some questions. That's awesome. Yep. Yeah. And if folks want to, oh, great. And I see, oh, I love that, right? Connections happening in the chat. This is amazing. I always love that. So yeah, it looks like there's some support being offered around looking at like the actual like guiding and scoring of the application. So love that. That's incredible. Any other questions before we close it out? And again, folks you're welcome. My email is all over this page, so you are welcome to reach out to me with any questions that you have. If you need additional like technical assistance, or even want additional connections to resources in terms of just feeling like your grant application is the way that you would like it to be, let me know. I'll get you connected with any resources that I'm aware of. And yeah, just wanted to say thank you all for coming. Thank you for asking such thoughtful and insightful questions. We'll be taking any of the questions we got today that weren't already answered on the page or in the FAQ, and then updating that so that they're reflected on the webpage as well.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
You too.
Thank you. You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.